I'm telling you right now, in terms of marketing, show me, don't tell me. Right? What do I mean by that? Like, build project galleries. What do I do? Where do I do it? Who do we do it for? And how do we do it? Just put that together and formulate it, because you can use that content in a way which can nurture and educate people throughout the various stages of the sales process. If you guys position yourselves as the expert, do the thing to become the expert, right? Like, what does that look like? Just answer the top 5 questions that you always get asked on repeat. Get it up on your website or in your YouTube or whatever you want to do. And that's a really good place to start.
Hello and welcome to Transformation Unlocked. My name is Adrian Tradie. I am excited. I have an old friend of mine here today, Matt Jones. Matt Jones has done lots of things. We're not quite sure what they are yet, but definitely he's run the Site Shed, a very successful podcast. He's also got an amazing company called Tradie Web Guys, and he's a dear friend of mine. Matt Jones, welcome to the podcast. How are you, sir?
Hey, buddy, it's nice to have the tables turned.
It is. It's lovely, mate. Yeah. It was quite a few years ago. I was on yours a couple of times and thought it would be great to return the favour.
Yeah,
Tell me,
great.
mate, what's been happening with you?
Mate, life's good. Pretty busy. 2 little kids living up on the North Coast, Northern Rivers. So, we got out of Sydney a while back. Yeah, just pretty much busy growing a digital marketing agency, and podcast still kicking along. We're up to like close to 500 episodes now.
Wow. How often are you releasing, by the way?
Weekly.
Weekly. Excellent. Awesome. So when did you actually move out of Sydney?
It would have been 5 years ago.
5 years. Was it COVID, like 2020, or just before?
Yeah, it was after the first lockdown.
Same with us.
Same with you, because you went south.
I think we left at exactly the same time. It's quite interesting, actually. Mm-hmm. So, mate, today we're going to get to find out more about Matt Jones. You've obviously got quite an esteemed career there with the Site Shed podcast. I think it's still up there as one of the best, if not the best, tradie podcast in Australia, and possibly, I know you've got an American and Canadian audience as well. What about UK? Do you get much traction over there?
We do have listeners. I mean, it's pretty much English speaking, obviously, but yeah, the majority of our audience is Australia. Our biggest audience is Australia, and then North America.
Then North America, yeah, great. So Canada and USA obviously included in both of those.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, I think truthfully, it's just very well established. You know, it's been around a long time. It sort of kicked off before tradies really knew what a podcast was. So, yeah, but then I guess that's sort of. Well, I mean, the podcast truthfully kicked off 2016. I started that as a way, like I was running Tradie Web Guys, the agency. Yeah. We were speaking at, TAFE, New South Wales, like Cert 4 programs and stuff like that.
Like the business study stuff? Is that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then I also spoke at a couple of like Department of Education roundtable events down in Canberra with the Australian government, stuff like that, just sort of more representing the trades. Typically, like with the focus of trying to communicate the fact that, and the whole reason the podcast really kicked off was like, I wanted to really broadcast the fact that doing a trade was not a default. Like when I went through school, and perhaps you as well, although you're considerably older than I am, I know, but I know. Like
I look younger though, but yeah, you're right.
It was kind of deemed as if you're not going to do well in academia, then you'll end up doing a trade. And I was never academic. So I ended up doing a trade, and truthfully, it was the best things I ever did. And I know you sort of was a similar boat as well with your plumbing business and things like that, which I think is actually where we met.
Yeah. 100%.
Relining stuff.
It's funny. I remember being on Channel 9 with you many, many years ago, and I think the actual heading of the article was "Trade's not a fallback profession." So it kind of talks to that point perfectly. Yeah. I looked at that. I did do some research, mate. I'll be honest, not a great deal because I've known you for so long, but we did a little bit before. We did a little bit before today, but that's exactly right. Like, and it's probably the best time in history. Not probably, it is the best time in history to be a tradie at the moment. Like, it is definitely the golden time. And 2016, mate, I'm going to give you credit. You're a pioneer. Like, I didn't even know what I kind of had a rough idea what a podcast was. I do remember being exceptionally nervous coming onto yours, but then again, everything we did on live TV and radio, and we also did a bit of ABC radio together. And I was always, I think, more nervous about what you were going to say or do to me on radio. So there's a bit of bullying.
You were always
take your place.
I remember that. I was in the green room when we were doing that TV thing, and you were just packing it.
Yeah. Definitely had too much caffeine. I was, oh shit, all right. I had a bit of nervous energy, but yeah, we got there, and then I wouldn't shut up, and then I wouldn't let you talk for the whole time we're on Channel 9. But yeah, coming full circle, it's definitely the best in history, especially in Australia, to be a tradesperson and to be in a career. I mean, we've got the advent of AI. We might even talk about that a bit more today as well. But it is by far, and you had the vision and the insight to kind of start. Tell us how that started. Like, obviously, I think you went from APS to the podcast or to Tradie Web Guys. It was all at the same time. Tell us about that transition period and what kind of came into your mind to actually make that.
So I did my apprenticeship on the North Shore of Sydney, a plumbing apprenticeship, and I finished the trade certification, whatever, and then took off overseas for a few years. And like while I was away, I started investing in reading and, like learning business sort of principles and stuff like that. And I sort of came home and I went back to work plumbing, and I was like, I kind of really enjoy this, but I sort of want to get more involved on the business side, which I figured inevitably you're going to have to do to run a business anyway. And so, of course, I like most tradespeople out there, they set out and start a business completely ill-equipped. I think that's one of the flaws within the system. And I don't necessarily blame the system for it, but, when you've got like they can only teach you so much within a curriculum, within the trade application, and like business itself is pretty much a lifelong journey as opposed to a sort of modular sort of thing you can pick up and run with. But,
yep.
Regardless, you finish your trade certification and then they say, right, off you go run a business. And you're like, okay, cool. So, I mean, after completely screwing that up, I realized I need to learn more about this. And so I did. One thing led to another. I found myself in a sales and marketing role with a network organization, and we set up what is now APS. And yeah, it was a good experience. But I just noticed we had so many clients. Like we'd sell these, $250,000 trailers to, and then they'd be like, we're going to start selling this. I'm going to be sleeping in that thing you sold me. So I was like, well, you got to market it. And they were like, well, how do I market it? And I'm like, get on your website. And they're like, well, we don't have a website. And I'm like, okay, well, there's a starting point. And so for a couple of them, I just said, I'll just sort it out. And so I did. I went and built a couple of the websites for these people. And then that led into marketing. And, next thing, that was like 14 odd years ago. So we probably spent as much, if not more time now in agency as I had in the trades.
Yeah.
But I like it because I'm still sort of like in the trades through all of the clients that we service because we only deal with trades. So yeah, that's kind of how that all evolved. A bit of a machine, clients all over the world.
Yeah. Dig into that a little bit further. Okay, trades, any specific trades for the websites? Or anybody, it could be in, I think you did solar at one point as well as your typical maintenance, plumbing, electrical and air conditioning, or is there any areas that you won't go?
We're really picky with who we work with these days. And I think that's, and I say this to our clients too, that's kind of a luxury of momentum and, establishment. Like you can kind of be picky and choosy with who you want to work with. So website's a website at the end of the day. We'll build websites for like any kind of trade business at the end of the day, provided they're sort of after, like it's more of a marketing launch pad for us. Like normally when people are coming to us, they're looking for some sort of like marketing solution, not so much as like a website, right? So
they want the phone to ring, basically, in essence.
Yeah, basically. So typically we build websites as a conversion tool, not so much as like depending of course on the business. Like if they're business to business or they're industrial, commercial sort of avatar, then it's more of a showroom and like communicating what they do kind of concept. From the perspective of business to consumer, like, residential emergency, like that kind of thing, like it's very much a marketing tool. Yep. So the focus is more on, okay, how do we have this asset? How do we build this asset in a way that's going to improve, the amount of jobs that we can deliver kind of thing, which normally is like the first part of a conversation leading into marketing and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So when, like from a marketing perspective, we're primarily we've had a bit of a change lately, but like we were mostly for solar, roofing, bathroom, kitchen renovations, that kind of thing, like project-based work. And that's kind of still where a lot of our strength and is within our specific product, because we kind of take, for those sort of businesses, project-based businesses, it's not like a lead generation business. It's a complete sort of white glove service where essentially we do all their creatives, run all their ads, we manage all their ads, we manage their funnels, we deploy all the sales and marketing systems, within our version of Go High Level. And then we actually service their leads and we basically just book them into site visits. It's basically we have humans that actually manage their leads and then book them into site visits.
Wow.
And so that's really cool because
Tradies love that too, because if anything, I mean, there's a phrase that we use a lot, these try to make your client, it sounds terrible, but it has good meaning behind it. Make your client lazy in the sense that, like, let me do it all the hard work for you, because then it becomes a no-brainer solution. So it's full service is what I'm picking up.
Yeah, the thing that we identified was the time best spent for our clients. So let's say that the business owners or, the people, the BDMs or whatever, like time best spent for them was not triaging leads.
Right.
And like it or not, like when you're running paid traffic campaigns through the likes of, Facebook, Instagram, Google to a degree, like you inevitably, like it's a numbers game in the sense that a percentage of those leads are going to be complete write-offs and time wasters. So time best spent for our clients is not really dealing with that shit. It's like getting out on site and closing the deals through the appointments that we book them into, So that was why we basically went down that route, because like we knew that we could give those leads the attention to maximize the possibility of them turning from a lead into a customer. Whereas the clients, they're too busy. They're up a ladder. They're in a trench. They don't have the time to do it, or they don't make the time to do it, So yeah, that's been a big shift. And then we're running a lot of like very successful campaigns for back in the reactive space for electricians and plumbers and things like that. And we've learned a lot of lessons over the years with them. And essentially, you just got to spend the right amount of money on the platform to get the result.
I've got a question for you. Something, it just popped in my head now. As I'm getting older and older, I thought, you know what? I'm going to interrupt him and I'm going to ask the question now before I forget. So I've noticed, and probably everybody else has noticed this as well, type in a search term in Google these days, and first of all, there's an AI response before there is an SEO response. How are you seeing, what are you seeing in that space? What are you seeing in that trend? How's that playing out for you from a marketing perspective?
Yeah, good question. So GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, has brought this whole breath of fresh revitalization into what is traditionally known as SEO. Now, for years, I was ragging on SEO because my opinion was, and to a degree kind of still is, but I'll expand on that in a minute. But basically these, like your Geminis, your ChatGPTs, so on and so forth, they now are taking a lot of the power out of these search engines and putting it back into these other, large language model platforms when it comes to referred leads. So for example, like a huge part of our SEO strategy today is helping ChatGPT identify when people are looking for a service, hey, what's a good plumber in on the Northern Beaches, what's a good plumber, in Vancouver, Canada, whatever it might be, identifying that these are the businesses that rank well, and we can then serve that. Because it sounds freaking ridiculous, but it's almost like a referral. It's coming from a ChatGPT, large language models, but people
makes sense,
communicate with these things like they're people, because that's what they're intended to do. And, when they get these recommendations, they're much more qualified. So, I mean, even ourselves as an agency, we get so many of our leads now. The majority of our leads come through ChatGPT.
Yeah, we got told the other day that someone found us through ChatGPT, and we didn't even look. Obviously, we're doing SEO, but it wasn't a conscious effort on our behalf to rank through GEO. That's a new term I've learned today too. Thanks, mate.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where, my gripe with SEO over the years has been essentially relative to the real estate that it holds on search engines like Google. So what I mean by that is, if you go to Google and you type in, say, plumber Canterbury or whatever, inevitably what's going to happen is you're going to open up the search engine, top of the page, you're going to see sponsored links, which is paid ads. And then below that, you're going to see a Google business profile, which is basically local SEO. And then below that, you're going to see perhaps a couple of SEO organic listings. So basically Google is saying to you, well, screw you. Like, if you want to be on our search engine, you've got to spend money so that you're showing top of page, right?
Yeah.
Now, one of the big areas for opportunity, two of the big areas that we're seeing for opportunity is, first of all, what I've already mentioned, how, some of these LLMs are taking the power out of the search engines and putting it onto their own references. And then, that local SEO listing, the 3-pack listing there for Google Business Profile, it's just such amazing real estate.
Yeah.
So for years I was ragging on SEO, going, there's no point. No one's going to be scrolling all the way down here to compete on this. But now I'm like, well, actually, and it all stems back to Content 101, which I'll expand in a little bit. But basically, the SEO empowerment through these LLMs means that all the things that used to work, but only would rank you in Google, now are working outside of Google on large language models.
Yeah.
And from the perspective of a marketer, what we essentially try to do is help our customers position themselves as the go-to expert within their area. The only way you can really do that is through creating good content, educating, recency, frequency, that kind of stuff. And so it's brought a breath of fresh air back into that whole ecosystem, in the sense that now this is a justified use of time,
100%. And you're showing up, like you said, you're showing up in more than one place. It's not just in Google. You're showing up in ChatGPT. You're showing up in all the other AI models. So what do you see coming? I mean, there's a lot coming down the pipeline in AI. What do you see? I get goosebumps when I say that, actually. What do you see happening around that space? Let's expand out a bit, not just in marketing, but in the trade space in general.
I'll tell you how we see what we'd use AI for with our clients and to what advantage it is, because there's a lot of noise around it as well. And like, as good as it is, I think some people kind of get into this like paralysis where I think everything's hinging on it, and it's not always the case. Like the main areas that we see AI being useful for, for the clients that we work with, is in managing calls and like inbound inquiries when they can't get to it. So having like an agent that can at least answer the call, take a message, and then send that back to the customer, or to the client, saying, "Hey, give them a call back when you're free." Like that at a basic level means that the phone gets answered at least, and a message gets taken, which truthfully is kind of what a lot of call centers will do anyway. So we had a call center for years, and we cancelled it because we put an AI agent in place. Simple.
Yeah, I'll come back to that point, but I'll actually write it down because I did a bit of testing the other day, and wow, the results were crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And you can really so that is something that will become more and more powerful over the years, I'm sure, with the technology evolving. The other thing that we see a huge advantage with AI is, like, the biggest constraint for us as an agency is getting the media from our clients that we need to use for the purpose of marketing. For example, Adrian, here's a script on the ads that we want you to read into a camera. Like, how long do you think that typically takes?
Oh, no, I know it takes ages. I even doing it for my own business.
Yeah, and then the quality of it when you get it back is sometimes just so shit you can't use it anyway.
Yeah.
So we use AI to do a lot of that stuff as well. We
Nice.
can create avatars of our actual client, so it's them saying it, but it's like an AI avatar of them doing it, and it's amazing. We can pump out creatives now, like get ads up and running within minutes, hours, not weeks, months, so on and so forth. And then we can also like leverage those same tools to create useful, relevant content and things like that in the post-lead stages of the sales cycle. So when a lead comes into a business, we can have an avatar create a video on a script that we've given them to talk about, okay, this is what's going to happen in your upcoming discovery call, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. So we can basically
customer journey stuff as well.
Exactly. Because because the thing is, like, it's not like getting the lead is not the hard part. Like, getting the lead is actually the easy part. It's the conversion, which is the hard part. And the reason for that is there's a shit ton of touch points. There's truthfully, like, you got to put it into perspective. Like I say this to our clients all the time, like, somebody sees one of your ads on Facebook, they click on it, bathroom renovations. Cool. Yeah, I'm interested in that. Put their details in. They get to work. You call them. They can't answer because they're at work. Like, in most cases, businesses give up there. That's it. They're like, okay, we tried.
I don't want to bother them, but you're not. But it's funny how they have a perception that.
Well, I mean, it's just truthfully, we've just seen over the years, like, people don't give the leads the attention they deserve in order to take them further through the sales cycle and convert them into a marketing qualified lead, sales qualified lead client. Like, that's a big constraint because basically you're burning budget, right? So, it's important, I suppose, that, when we're going through this process, that we're like, okay, let's maximize the lifetime value of this lead. It's not a case of calling them once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, even 5, 10 times. Like, when we're managing these leads for clients, we're calling them 30 plus times to get a hold of them before we DQ that opportunity.
Yeah.
So, and that's a big consideration in the sense of, like, lead acquisition costs, or client acquisition costs. So these are things that you need to consider. So there are tools that can help streamline that. And importantly, again, like, this is not time best spent for clients when they could be out closing the jobs. Do you know what I mean? So I think, like, in answer sort of, and I'm sort of going around the M25 on this one, but like, the AI will streamline various stages of the sales process. It won't. Yep. It doesn't necessarily always have to replace people, but it can. But it's just a way that it can improve, like, that ecosystem at large. Even things like chat widgets, like chatbots, like, amazing. you know?
100%. No one wants to talk on the phone anymore. They love a chat bot or an SMS or anything like that because, like you said, I can get away with an SMS at work to book the plumber, but I can't pick up the phone and talk to
Exactly.
Yeah, but I'll talk to that point you just mentioned. Scott and I just did Blue Sky Mastermind down in Albury. Was it 2 months ago? And we had Chirp. Do you know much about Chirp? It's basically it's a customer journey software. I'll introduce you to the guys. It'd be a good guest for you guys as a guest on your podcast. And it automates so much of that customer journey. It's kind of like a Podium, but it still has, I don't know how many. I think they had 70 different touch points with an email, SMS, etc. Ryan Fenn is the founder, and we had Ryan Peterson and we had Justin Judd in Australia for it. And it just takes that stuff out because, especially in a small business where you don't have heaps of staff and heaps of resources, you've got to automate. And that's where the AI piece is coming back in as well.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's loads of tools to do it. I mean, there's, like, again, we've sort of built this into our own Tradie Hub software, the same sort of thing. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what tool you use, as long as you use something and you get and do the thing, Like
so you got something that can do that as well?
Yeah, we have Tradie Hub, right, which is like our lead management software. So
tell us more about that.
Well, I mean, that truthfully it's the way that we can scratch our own itch. So like it's a full sales and marketing suite program, which it's kind of like HubSpot if you're more familiar with that kind of thing. It's basically a way that we can.
Can I just quickly explain to the listeners? HubSpot is almost like the Rolls Royce of CRMs. It's got a whole bunch of marketing functions, has a whole bunch of sales functions. The difference being sales is more about running a pipeline, marketing is more about data contact management. And it costs a fair bit of money, but it is pretty much the Rolls Royce. But you've got one for tradies, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And it's a fraction of the price basically, but it does all the same thing. So the way that we use it is, like we needed a tool that we could build marketing. So like funnels, basically for you guys out there who don't know what a funnel is, it's like if you are running like lead generation for a business, you would have a landing page, which is like a 1-page website where you would steer an ad to, and then people would land on the ad and they would go to an inquiry form, and they go to a thank you page with testimonials and reviews and all these different pages, which is part of what they call a funnel, right? So, when we're running ads, we want to run a funnel because we want them to go through a specific journey in order to further and further qualify, and then, basically put them into like appointments and that kind of thing. So, that's one area that we maximize. And then of course, tied into that is like, okay, well, what are the communications we're going to be sending to this within this funnel throughout the different stages, text messages, emails, voice messages, whatever it might be. So it'll do all that. Google review follow-ups, like all of that kind of stuff. It's like an integrated tool. And the problem previously, before we had Tradie Hub, was, there was all these different tools that all kind of had to like stick together with like Zapier and all this crap. And it was just a clusterfuck, like it just got messy and everything would break and like it was just a nightmare. So now it's all just kind of integrated, simple. So again, it's something that we can use to scratch our own itch, and we can do things like re-engagement, like database mining, send out emails. We sent out an email for a client of ours only last week, in the solar space down South Australia. And off the one email campaign, they landed like 90 grand's worth of work. And
I'm a massive proponent of email marketing. It's the lowest cost, highest ROI every day of the week.
Well, and this is something as well that I talk to clients about all the time. Like when they come to us, they're so like in this mindset. You probably experience this as well with people you speak with. It's just like, we need more leads, right? And like on the peripherals, like as conceptually, yes, you need leads. But like on the peripherals, what you need to understand is like 2 core factors. Number one, conversion, because if you can improve your conversions, then that reduces your marketing budget. And the other thing that you need to consider, especially if you're in a reactive space, is your lifetime value. And, like most businesses don't have a solid process around lifetime value. And essentially,
retargeting, remarketing back to them, getting you back into the
exactly, or just servicing the customer better as their trusted advisor. And that's really what it's about at the end of the day.
I want to jump on that before you go too far and we don't come back. Conversion happens in 2 places for the listeners. I love turning the podcast into a coaching session as well, mate. So you can have the conversion of when you actually answer the phone. That's your booking rate. That's the language we use here. And then also, so the second point of conversion is going to be the technician turning up to the property and converting the actual sale. So there's 2 points of conversion that are really, really important. And if you knew it private business or you don't quite know your numbers, these are definitely places that you should be looking at. And then you got the average ticket, which would lead to what Matt just said about your lifetime value for your customer as well. But sorry, thanks for being patient, Matt.
I mean, truthfully, we could go in a rabbit warren with conversions because my pet gripe about marketing agencies is always the bullshit reporting that you get in the space of, oh, look how many conversions you've had on Google. It's like, who the fuck cares? The phone
Impressions. Oh, yeah, they're great. They pay the bills.
it's like, oh, look at all the green arrows. It's like, who the fuck cares? Like, the phone hasn't rung once because you've gone from page, 1,000 to page 900. Like, sure, it's all working, but it's not working in terms of like phones ringing and stuff like that. So there's a lot of bullshit in that space, which needs to be cut through. But like conversions for us is like sold, like we measure numbers that are not obvious from an agency perspective. So, the obvious ones are obviously like, okay, well, how many leads have you got and what do the leads cost? But like we're more interested in how many leads turned into what we call discovery. So that's triage or whatever. How many discovery calls turned into a site visit? How many site visits turned into a like money down scenario? So we have like priority program initiative, but like could be a deposit, whatever.
Yep.
And then how many of those, and then what's the total project value locked in and secured? And they're the things that really make the difference because like all the other stuff is just fluff. Like at the end of the day,
you can't pay the bills with fluff, mate. You're on the money, man. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and it's also why we're not like, we will only work on things that will actually move the needle because people will come to us all the time. They're like, oh, can you do social? And I'm like, no, I'm not doing social because like the only people that follow your Facebook page are your friends and family and none of them are ever going to buy.
And other tradies.
Yeah, exactly. Just things that move the needle, like run ads, get leads, turn them into clients. Like, bang. So, we're very much about, like, okay, this is what we have a process called our impact roadmap, where basically we sit down and we do this with every single client we bring on board. We design, okay, what does the 12-month roadmap look like for you in terms of like where you want to go? And what are the marketing milestones we need to work towards throughout those various stages to hit that goal? It's pretty simple, but it's also polarizing because most of them don't have it.
Yeah, 100%. You got to get those assets. And that's another thing. I like those milestones are assuming as like what we talk about with marketing assets. Like once you build them, they're there forever. They might need a bit of a refresh or a redesign after a little while, but then you've got the core process in place.
The best asset that you guys can do out there, I'm telling you right now, in terms of marketing, is show me, don't tell me, right? Show me, don't tell me. What do I mean by that? Like build project galleries. Like what do I do? Where do I do it? Who do we do it for? And how do we do it? Like it's really simple. Just put that together and formulate it because you can use that content in a way which can nurture and educate people throughout the various stages of the sales process without you having to be an absolute pest and constantly like hounding them. Did you get my quote? Did you get my quote?
Just following up.
Yeah, I got your quote, like just be useful, frequent, relevant.
What you just said there is gold. Also, too, there's two birds, one stone there with that as well. That also, too, is a great sales conversion tool as well. So we obviously talk about the 7-step sales process all the time. And when you're in that presenting your options, you can show past jobs. Everyone's got an iPad these days, right? Have that as your brag mat. Give them social proof of how good you are. This is a before, this is an after, this is what it looks like. If I can get you to agree to, like if I can get you to sign today, we can get going immediately and you can have that result right there. So not just great for marketing, it's also very, very helpful for sales as well.
Well, I mean, it's all about sales at the end of the day. Like we only do marketing and generate sales. And so, and this is one of the reasons why we build websites. It's because we want a place to showcase what we do and who we do it for and where we do it and how we do it.
Yeah.
And so, we want to collate that data and position you, the clients, as the expert within their space. And for you guys out there that aren't doing that, let me give you a bit of insider trading here. For you guys out there that aren't doing it, guess what? None of your competitors are doing it either, which is exactly why you should be fucking doing it. And like for some reason, and I've sit there and I've seen, like I've been sitting with clients where they have these conversations with their clients, talking with complete conviction about the thing they do with absolute expertise and nous. And then for whatever reason, you hold a little device up in front of their face and they turn into fucking schoolgirls. Like,
it is fascinating. Look, I've been there though, mate. Look, it's
one like that. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I've been there too. Like, it's back to we were joking before. Well, we're not joking. We're talking seriously about nerves and whatnot and being on show. I remember my first ever speaking gig. It was so underwhelming. It was quite funny. It was in a Campbelltown warehouse in the middle of nowhere that people were sitting around a trestle table having a barbecue and I was shaking like a leaf. I've got to talk about what I do. But you've got to practice this stuff. If you don't practice it, you'll never become great at it. So if you're not promoting your own business, you've got to get out there and you've got to learn how to get over being uncomfortable in front of the phone or in front of the camera and work out how to deal with that.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, like, it's not like we're, asking you to get up there and recite some poem or something. Like, these are things that you know about. Like, these are things that you are or should be an expert in. So just talk about it, and you don't have to like overcomplicate it, and you shouldn't overcomplicate it. Like I always say to clients, like, make sure it passes the mum test, which is basically like, if I gave this to your mum, would she be able to understand what the heck you're talking about?
And not offend her.
Like, don't go all tech talk on it, because like we always have a habit of doing that within business, like speaking the way that we would want to be spoken to, but you kind of need to dull it down when it comes to content. But like, yeah, essentially just be useful, relevant, frequent, and at the same time you position yourself as an expert within that space through thought leadership.
Mate, let's talk about SideShed. What's happening with that at the moment? Thank you. That's been awesome, by the way. But tell us all about SideShed. What's happening? What are the plans for the future?
Oh man, so I just got off a recording this morning, which was episode 479. Look, it's the machine now. Like, kind of, it's expected. Like, I miss a week and I get text messages and emails saying, "Hey, what happened? Are you okay?" Which is kind of funny. But that podcast, for any of you guys that don't know, is really a business resource for trade businesses. I mean, it's just, truth be told, it's like a small business podcast, but because our vertical and our niche is trades, we very heavily target that with all of the content.
Yeah, not just Australian guests, overseas, international. You've got a varied amount of different people.
Yeah, it's pretty split. We'd have a lot of Aussies, Kiwis, Canadians, whatever, Americans, obviously. But like anyone that can really add value or has something to discuss that benefits trade businesses, will kind of entertain. That said, and you can look forward to this, the amount of people that reach out to you through booking agents that have just no relevance to the trade.
Yeah, it's been happening to us too. It's like, why? Yeah, well, I'm confused. Yeah, talk to that point. I kind of jumped in a bit early there. To tell your audience what we're referring to.
Well, I mean, just like the fact that essentially, like, people that don't do their research when they reach out to you, and it would be like for you guys, a commercial plumber and someone reached out to you saying, "Hey, can you come and fix my tap washers?" It's kind of that dynamic, just sort of more annoying than anything. Well, I worked in e-commerce. I'm like, who the fuck cares? Our audience is tradies.
It has no basis of relevance to our audience, and it's not going to land. Sorry, champ.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
So, I mean, the funny thing is, after, so many episodes, you kind of get to a point where, like, there's no new topics. It's kind of like other people's spin on things that you've covered once, twice, more, That's also part of the beauty of it, I suppose, in the sense that because it's long form, it's unedited to a degree. It's like, it's pretty organic. It's raw. I mean, that's the allure of podcasts, right? It's like a conversation. It's not like a scripted, kind of dynamic. There's always like different things, different spins on topics that can make it quite refreshing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's real. That's what the world's sick to death of, is fake and manicured and really, really polished. That's probably why you did so well, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm rough.
Rough as guts.
Yeah, so I mean, look, the podcast is the podcast. It's just just ticks over there.
Just ticking over. Yeah, love it.
It's great. And again, like, you guys can put this into perspective for yourselves. Like, when people like listen to the podcast and then they want to reach out to us, they're more qualified and they have a better understanding of what we do, through thought leadership and stuff like that, which we communicate on the show. And so again, like, what does that look like for you guys? Just like, tell your story more, talk about things you're good at, talk about the experiences you've had, talk about problems you've overcome, so on and so forth. Because like, at the end of the day, if somebody has consumed some of that content before they pick up the phone and call you or hit your website, then there's a much higher chance of them being further down that sales cycle than just a cold lead.
Yeah, 100%. Authority aspect that it otherwise wouldn't have to be there. And it's a bit of persuasion rather than having to do all the hard work on the initial call, or even, sometimes the initial call won't even take place because there wasn't enough influence in the beginning.
And it's also like you're like the opportunity for you guys, like, in the interest of like sales cycle. Now, truth be told, like, if you're in the reactive space, obviously you have quite a short sales cycle. Like, hey dude, my drain's blocked, get out here like in the next hour and fix it. As opposed to like, if it's more project based, it's like, okay, well, I'm interested in a bathroom renovation or whatever it might be, like, there's a sales cycle to consider there. Like, people aren't typically going to go buy a bathroom renovation off a Facebook ad. So you have this opportunity and, truthfully, kind of this responsibility where you can be educating and nurturing. If you're doing it right, this is how you maximize the likelihood of that lead turning into a customer. You're educating and you're being useful and relevant from the point where they come to you and the point where they are ready to actually make that decision and put a deposit down, like the person who communicates best throughout that gap is the one that will win the job.
Absolutely. It's funny. We were talking about this the other day about lead magnets for maintenance businesses, and it's almost a non-existent thing because no one's going to research what I'm going to do for my block drain because it's a grudge purchase that you don't expect to do. However, back to what you've said about a bathroom renovation, I'm going to start to look at tiles. I'm going to start to look at fixtures. I'm going to start to talk to builders, and I could have a lead magnet that I would digest because that's a much more planned out and programmed job than a reactive kind of maintenance. I like what you're saying there. It does make sense.
And you also steer that content to educate the customer about the type of work that you do and who you do it for. For example, if you're running a bathroom renovation company and you're not into like the cheapest, like you want to deliver quality, you do the best quality waterproofing, the best tiling, the best PC items, the best fixtures, like all that kind of stuff. You want to be able to communicate that before you get out on site. Like this is who we do work for. This is typically what our average ticket item costs for a bathroom renovation.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to be in a scenario where you get out there and you're like, well, our bathrooms start at 40 grand and you've only got 20 grand budget. Like it's a waste of everyone's time. So you can use content to kind of guide. Again, a lot of cases, it's just ignorance. Like people people genuinely do not know what these things cost and how long these things take. So this is how you can, again, express like thought leadership by just being useful, relevant, and frequent and giving them content which can help answer some of these questions before they even ask them.
Yeah, 100%. I want to ask, you know how you're doing the ski, I can't remember what you called them, but the ski and learn and the surfing and learn or something.
Yeah.
What were they called?
Ski and learn, surf and learn.
You're a genius, mate. Absolute dead set.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Are you still doing them? What's going on there?
Yeah, we are. We're kicking them off again, actually.
Nice.
We're doing another surf and learn next year, just in the throes of organising that. And,
yeah.
And I'm doing a ski and learn. Well, I'm doing a recce this year with some places in Japan. So we're doing over in February. But
it's a legitimate tax deduction if you're doing a reconciliation, a reconnaissance mission, 100%.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I mean, essentially that was just a way that we could get clients out of their business into either a ski location, which has been both Japan and New Zealand so far, or surfing. We just take a bunch of guys over on a boat in the Maldives and we just surf epic waves, and then we do business workshops in the afternoon, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's such a great initiative, and it makes
so much sense. Tradies hated the classroom. Like I see guys spend 8 hours in the classroom, and by the last hour they're itching to get out of the seat, right? And then if you can put them in a different environment, guess what? Straight away your brain starts reacting in a different way. You're picking up more stuff. You're having conversations. You could actually both be in the water on a board. Not that I'm a surfer, I'm a land lover, that's for sure. But you could be having a chat at the back, waiting for the waves to come in and learn some stuff while you're out in that kind of environment. I think it's gold, man. I think
it is. It's just like a much more relaxing. And truth be told, a lot of events, and you would no doubt agree to this, but like some of the power is in often the networking. But it's getting a group of like-minded 100%. People together in a room where you can all talk about problems and things that you're overcoming and how you did it. And, like you might be $1 million business sitting next to someone who's got a $6 million business, and you can learn how they overcame an obstacle to get them from 1 million to 2 million. Like those kind of conversations are equally, if not more valuable, than the actual the content you deliver at the event themselves.
We talk about that. It's peer-to-peer learning, and yes, you'll learn a lot from the front of the room, but you'll also learn from the left and the right. Like the people sitting to your left and the right are going to be through what you've been through or going through similar stuff, and just having that dialogue and having that conversation is, well, like you said, as valuable, if not more valuable, than learning from whoever's at the front of the room as well.
What are some of the things that you've seen, I suppose, like within, like working with your clients, some of the key revelations and evolutions over the years?
Yeah, look, the funny thing is, okay, I'll start with some of the mistakes. Everyone's looking for a silver bullet, right? Everyone's looking for a panacea. Everyone's looking, I'm going to do this and it's going to fix it. It's like, how long have we been in the industry now, mate? We were young when we started. So like it's about grinding and grinding. I don't want to say grinding because grinding infers that it's hard, right? Like it is hard, but it also too can be enjoyable on the way. It is more about being consistent. It's about running a plan and sticking to the plan. There's no one thing that's going to save you, all right? I'll be a bit controversial here. I'll talk about software, and I absolutely love software, but software is not going to change your world. It's definitely going to help your world. I'll give you an example. Buying a piece of software or getting the next new thing, whatever that may be, even a relining truck. If you don't know how to market your business, if you don't know how to sell, if you don't know how to answer the phone correctly, none of that stuff is going to change your business. You've got to understand the fundamentals and the basics first. So it's always going back to the core basics and the core fundamentals first. And then when you get that level of maturity in business or get that level of graduation, then add the fancy brand new piece of software, then add the fancy relining truck. But you must always go back to the core fundamentals. I've always known that, but it's been kind of really hammered home in the last little while as the market's kind of come off a bit. Not really paying attention to their numbers per se. Like in a boom, everybody makes money and it's a lot simpler. As the market softens and gets a bit quieter, okay, I'm not as busy as I once was. Why? And if you don't have great data, which is partly what the software does, is give you great reporting, or having dashboards that you can have, they go, okay, first of all, is it a leads problem? No, the leads are fine. Is it a conversion problem on the phone? No, that's fine. Oh, the texts aren't converting. Okay, now I can fix it a lot quicker when I know those fundamentals off the bat. Apart from that,
I did a podcast this morning with a guy and we were talking about, the guys at CEO Warrior over in the US. Like
Mike Aguilera. Yeah, I know Mike.
Yeah, formerly Mike, and Mike Disney and those guys. But anyway, we're talking about like.
I beg your pardon, he sold it, didn't he? I apologise. Yeah.
Yeah, he got out. But anyway, like we're just talking about like going back to what you're saying there about basics. Like, okay, let's start with like a P&L. Like we're talking about budgeting and stuff like that, but like you can't really do a budget unless your P&L's cleaned up. And like you've got to make sure that your bookkeeping software is nice and tidy so that you can see the data and you'll be like, right, okay, well then we're going to set a budget and we're going to try and gradually add percentages to revenue generating line items. Like we're going to make sure the data is accurate. Like these basic things like that, which can really just cast this layer of transparency over the.
Let me add to that. If you're reconciling quarterly, you're wasting your time. It's got to be daily, weekly, at a minimum monthly. Right?
Yeah, get a bookkeeper.
Yeah. But also too, I've seen bookkeepers go, oh, we don't have to do it till the BAS is due because they've got a different focus, Matt. This is a great point you brought up. They've got a focus of compliance, which means I don't want to pay the wrong amount of tax and get you in trouble, which is great because we don't want to go to jail. Jail's not cool. And what we do want to do is make as much money as possible that's honest, ethical, and moral. And we need to have a management or a performance mindset. So when you're getting your bookkeeper or when you're getting a quote from a bookkeeper, please, like Matt said, get a bookkeeper and get one yesterday and get them to reconcile daily or weekly, right? At a bare minimum monthly. I think monthly is probably even a bit of a stretch these days. And then make sure that you can go and see your dashboard of performance because that will tell you in the middle of the month, right? If you've got the right reports connected to it, am I having a good month or a bad month on the 12th or the 14th or the 16th? And I can still change the outcome at the end of the month. When I look back in the past and it's the first of the next month or the second of the next month, I can't change last month. It's gone.
It's too far gone.
Yeah. Great point, mate.
It's so important to be agile with those things and be able to make agile, shifts towards a direction which is deemed only by the numbers which are generated from platform. You need that data. You need to have that, like Ellen Raw, our friend Ellen, like she's just so great with helping businesses sort of equip themselves with tools and dashboards to help them like identify, okay, well, what are these key metrics? And like, if after week 1, we haven't hit these milestones, we need to ramp that up in week 2. Otherwise, if you look at it on day 25, you can't reel it back. It's gone. The month's over, know? So, like, I think that's like the main thing. And when you're talking, and the other thing as well, you'll find, I'm not like hating on bookkeepers and accountants or anything like that, but like, they do tend to have like a preservation mindset where they're like, okay, well, our job here is to identify where some of these, what we see as red flags. And the key thing that we see is like prevention versus sort of operational. They're not like focused on like, what is the actual growth target here? Like, okay, yes, we're spending money here in this thing because we're trying to hit a goal, but they need to understand, okay, well, we need like, often they'll be like, you're spending too much money. We're like, well, hang on. As a marketer, we look at it and go, well, actually, you're not spending anywhere near enough money.
100%.
There's like a disconnect between
Matt, you cannot save yourself to be wealthy. You've got to be able to solve people's problems, get paid a fair market rate, and do it through sales. That's the only way. Through fixing more people's problems and selling, that's how you get wealthy. You can't, don't get me wrong, there is a place for saving, there's a place for cutting costs, but it's probably 5 to 10% of the equation compared to the growth stuff of marketing and leads and conversion and sales.
Well, the best thing that I ever did for my business, and I'm the biggest fan in the world on the border of even getting myself a tattoo, was like adopting the profit first framework into the business. Because I think like as someone that is, formerly a tradesperson and does not have a financial background, like for me, it was a easy deployed system which cut through all of the bullshit and just be like, right, make sure like for you guys that aren't familiar, essentially, I'll give you like elevator pitch. Make sure you have enough money in the various buckets within your business so that there's always money available. So operations, staff, tax, so on and so forth. There's always money available. Easy.
Yeah.
Like Now, and one of the big, I won't say resistance points because we handle it well before it becomes an objection, is like when people are coming to us, typically they're after a system which can help them scale, like they can predict their growth.
Yeah.
Because normally they're coming out of word of mouth and referrals.
Mm.
And as you know, you can't really scale that.
Yeah.
So
100%.
but the dynamic there, the paradigm that needs to, I suppose, be absorbed within that conversation is the fact that when you go into a like growth through acquisition model where you're like spending money to acquire clients, paid marketing, whatever it might be, there needs to be an allocation to budget in order for you to get to that goal. You have to spend the money to get the outcome. And once businesses understand that, it's fine. But like when they're coming out of a world where they've never had to spend any money whatsoever on marketing because it's always come organically, it's kind of a bit of a hard pill to swallow sometimes.
Big time. It's really, really important. I've seen people go, I don't want to pay for leads. And it's like a hit to the ego that, guess what, buddy? No one's going to know who you are if you don't spend a bit of money. You're going to have to, and not even a bit, like it's considerable, a bit, at least like 10% of your revenue. Or actually, I'll ask you, what kind of money would you like people like?
Oh, we'd say 10%. Like we see typically businesses that are sort of like in a moderate growth phase, they'll spend about 10%.
Yeah.
But this is the other thing, right? Like it's not saying you have to, if you're a 100K a month business, we're not saying you have to save or have 10 grand allocated to marketing in the bank. What we're saying is within your pricing model, and this is where like, you know, we lean on like coaches like you, within your pricing model, make sure you have enough fat within that product to be able to allocate 10% of that sale into an account for marketing.
Yeah, and we can work that out like when we do our labour rate calculator sessions. 100% correct, mate. Yeah, mate. I'll add something to that too, and also too, it's okay to be 20% on marketing spend, and I'll explain this a little bit further for everyone that's listening. 10% is probably when you and there's a thing called the sigmoid curve or sigmoid curve, and basically it goes through the different evolutions of a business. When you're an immature business, you're probably going to have to spend 20% on marketing because you don't have a database to market back to, and then you're in a growth phase. But as you start to get into a maturity phase, then you can come back to that 10% mark. So just because Matt and Adrian said 10%, don't think it has to be 10%. Everyone has to have a case-by-case analysis and work it back to your strategy. Where are you at? Are you growing? Are you mature? Are you looking to sell? So it all depends on where you're at right now.
But again, like tying back to what we were saying earlier in the conversation about don't put the emphasis, like this is where a lot of businesses kind of, I won't say trip up, but maybe like just don't fully really grasp the full power of lifetime value. You know, like, yes, you might spend this money on acquiring this lead this month, but statistics will tell us if you play your cards right, that $700, $800, $900 job that you've just won should turn into a $10,000 client value over the course of, you know, how many years?
Yeah, 100%.
So don't underestimate lifetime value ever.
Well, mate, talking about lifetime, it's been good to know you for about, how many years?
Half a life.
What have we, 20?
Easy.
Yeah, forget I'm old. Yeah, I keep looking in the mirror and I see a young man, but that's not the case, Matt. It's
Oh, really? Jesus.
Yeah, I know. I need glasses. I look
in the mirror and think, who's this old bloke looking at me?
So tell me, Matt, we're going to land this plane, bud. Tell me, what would you like to say to listeners? How can we get to know more about Tradie Web Guys? How can we, I mean, the site shed, we could just go Google or Spotify, all the...
Mate, I'm not hard to find. Like Tradie Web Guys and the site shed is everywhere. But like one message, I suppose, that I'd like to leave the listeners with is, and again, like our space is marketing, right? But like if you guys like position yourselves as the expert, do the thing to become the expert, right? Like what does that look like? Just swallow your pride, get out there and start creating content so that you can help your customers. And the one place that I say to all of our clients is start here. Just answer the top 5 questions that you always get asked on repeat. Answer that with content. Get it up on your website or into YouTube or whatever you want to do. You'll never have to answer those questions ever again because you've already done it. You send them a link to the video.
Yeah.
And that's a really good place to start. And it's a really good way to like start positioning yourself as the expert, the authority within your vertical. And just don't be afraid to tell your story. Like your website is not like a one and done thing. It's like a living, breathing organism, and treat it like that. Treat it as an asset which can help you, as I said before, you speak to who you work with, what you do, where you do it, and how you do it. It doesn't have to be much more complicated than that.
I love it, mate. Simplicity is key.
Simplicity is key.
Matt Jones, fantastic to catch up with you, buddy.
Absolutely, man.
I really appreciate you being on the podcast with us today. I can't wait to do another one in a little while. Thanks again for your time.
Absolutely. And if anyone has any questions or whatever, you can absolutely ask Adrian. I'll rubber arm me back on the show and I'll get them answered for you.
We'll make sure there's some links that everyone can click and go straight there. But yeah, definitely hit me up and I'm happy to introduce you to Matt.
Rock and roll. Thanks, guys.
Brother. See you, mate.
Ciao.